You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Welcome back, everyone, to more of the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou. It is March 31st, 2022, and today, continuing on with my On the Clock series, the Atlanta Falcons are picking next as we discuss three potential players I would like to see them go after in this year's NFL draft. So my Falcons fans, make sure you let me know in the comment section down below who you would like to see the Falcons go after. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to help support the channel, and let's dive right into this. So the Atlanta Falcons. Now let me say this. This is a team that did show some improvement under Arthur Smith this past season, and quite honestly, I think is starting to trend back in the right direction. They did just make a big trade in letting go of longtime quarterback Matt Ryan, and while I do think that the QB position is a position of need despite having brought in Marcus Mariota, I'm going to go ahead and spoil this right now. I'm not looking at quarterback for the three picks that I have labeled here. Maybe they do end up addressing it at some point within the draft, but the three people that I've picked out for the Falcons, I've kind of foregone and moved past the quarterback position and picked out a few other places of areas of need. Now, why is that? Mainly because I have a feeling that with the signing of Marcus Mariota and the fact that he does have history with Arthur Smith, something tells me that they're maybe not too high on this quarterback class and they don't feel that they can get a guy that they want specifically. Like maybe they really do like someone, but they're unsure of whether they can get them or not. And it will boil down to whether they are able to when it comes time for them to pick. And they're kind of planning for the potential that, you know, maybe they don't find a QB in this year's draft and they get someone for next year. And that's why Marcus Mariota's here. I obviously don't necessarily know the exact thinking going on there, but that's kind of how I think they're thinking is like they're not in love with anyone, or there is someone they do potentially like, but don't feel like they actually have a chance at getting. So I'm focusing on a few other positions with the idea that they're probably going to address the quarterback situation next year with a rookie as opposed to this year. So for my day 3 pick, and we'll start from there, we'll go day 3, day 2, and then day 1. For my day 3 pick, we're going to focus on the defensive line for the Atlanta Falcons here. I have 3 areas of need picked out, and that being wide receiver, safety, and D-line. We'll start here with edge rusher Sam Williams out of Ole Miss. Now, it's no secret the Falcons' pass rush has definitely slowed down the last few years, and I definitely think they could use some help in, honestly, more than one place, but I like the idea of them going after an edge rusher late that they can kind of mold and turn into a guy who, and also bringing in someone who has actually shown some effectiveness at a fairly high level, but for one reason or another isn't rated too highly from what I've read as I've looked down the various areas of scouting and whatnot. He seems to end up as a day 3 guy in just projection, and everywhere that I've read about him doesn't speak of him as a day 2 or 1 guy. And when you look at his abilities in pros, he has awesome play strength. He can bull rush. He can get off blocks fairly easily. He has versatility as a guy that's labeled as someone who should be able to play both the 4-3 D end or the 3-4 rushing outside linebacker. So that brings more value to his pick. He's able to run whatever you need to on defense, whether the Falcons are running, a 4-3 or 3-4 type of look or whatever it is that they're doing. If they're running some sort of a multiple thing, it does not matter. Whatever they ultimately decide to do in the next few, and I'm just not talking about next season. I'm talking about maybe in the few years down the road. Whatever they decide to do, a guy like him, he can bring versatility and play either or position. You know what I'm saying? I'm not solely speaking on just this next season and what he brings, but in totality, should he be there beyond just the next few years? On top of that, he did have 13 sacks in 2021, so he has a record this past year of getting after the quarterback, and he had some pretty solid showings against Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and Auburn of the like. So some pretty solid schools to have some good games against. Now, there are some cons to him. He's not the best when it comes to counters, and his lateral movement could be a little bit better from what I've read. He only has 1 season as a really, really good and effective starter, so that is something that might hold teams back. And most places have him labeled as a solid at best run defender, and that might even knock his value a little bit for what the Falcons need, just because the Falcons really do need some help with run defense in general. However, I think the versatility in the pass rush, and also, again, he's a solid run defender, not the greatest, but he's also not the worst. This type of guy in day 3 during that meat and potatoes rounds where, you start to fill out your roster and you find those guys, those diamonds in the rough. Sam Williams makes a lot of sense for me if he's going to Atlanta. Now, moving into the day 2 pick, like I said, I have D-line, safety, and wide receiver selected here, so you'll get a little bit of a spoiler as to what's coming after this one. Day 2, I would like to see the Falcons go after safety JAQUAN BRISKER out of Penn State. Now, it's funny because a few years back, I felt like the safety position was so well set in stone with Atlanta, and they had such a good tandem there with Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen, and you just had a really good back-end group, and gone are those days, and the safety group has just kind of fallen and lagged behind the rest of the defense year and year and year since then. So, when you look at what Brisker's done, what he brings to the table, he forced a massive 28.6% of passes his way to be incomplete. He is labeled as an outstanding physical type of tackler, consistently able to blow players up and stop them dead in their tracks. And he also has a 47.3 career passer rating in coverage when the ball's coming his way. He's effective in coverage. However, he's more recognized as an in-the-box safety than anything else. And I think he plays that style that Atlanta likes to play with their safeties. When you think of a guy like Keanu Neal back in his time when he was playing really, really well, similar type of play. Now, QBs tend to beat him with their eyes. He was primarily used in the box. He didn't really play too much over the top. But I think with how effective he has been and the very limited amount of coverage that he was getting over the top and out wide, as opposed to just being in the box, it speaks for itself. Maybe they fit him into that role that he plays in so well as just the in-the-box safety. Don't force him out of position and make him play where he's not used to playing, or just test him out and see what you can get out of him. But he's a thumper. He plays that type of safety role that the league has kind of switched into, and I think would be a really good day 2 pick, especially if you're finding him in like this late second round, maybe third round. If he ends up falling that far, I feel like he probably ends up being a second round pick, but there is potential he falls a little bit further than that. I don't know. I would like to see the Falcons get back to that elite safety play that they had just a few years ago, and Brisker, I feel, could be a really good fit for what they do over there with their safeties in Atlanta. And my Falcons fans, please let me know. What do you think about that one? But that is my day 2 pick for the Falcons. Now, going into the first round here, I have wide receiver labeled out. The idea with bringing in a wide receiver is that you're probably going after a quarterback next year, or maybe you are planning on going for a quarterback in day 2. Now, it's been a while. What? We're going into year 2 now since we've had Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley suspended for the year, Russell Gage, he's a Buccaneer, wide receiver room looking real depleted. One of the most sure prospects in this draft, wide receiver Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. You're picking at number 8. It seems like the conversation is either him or London Drake, or Drake London. I can't remember if I'd be lying to you if I can remember which is his name, first or backwards, but there seems to be a conversation as to who the more sure wide receiver is with that. Maybe you argue, Chris Olave with his elite route running, I don't know, Jamison Williams before he got hurt was, considered the number 1 prospect, but injury considered, you're looking at Garrett Wilson as one of the most sure receivers in this draft, and you're picking early enough, and considering some of the team needs that are going ahead of you, you have a good shot at landing him. Best in the class at creating separation. He's played and found success both in the slot and out wide, and he is an excellent route runner himself. this is someone that, while he might not have the elite blow the top off the defense type of speed, neither did Calvin Ridley, but he was looking really good before he had to step away from the game and and is now being suspended, obviously, but he was looking really good. And Calvin Ridley's not a guy that had that elite speed wide receiver, but they were able to use him really well. He also lacks like the true strength that you want to see from a pro level wide receiver. He gets beat in press coverage fairly often from what I've read and from what I've looked at. However, that is something you can work on. You can work on his hands to kind of escape those press man situations. He's going to bulk up, obviously, and get a little bit bigger as he grows into himself. Again, some of these guys are really young, and, while you're early 20s still, you're still filling out and getting stronger and better at what you do. Those are things that they can work on. The speed, obviously, you can only do so much about it, but there's really not a ton of knocks to his game. He is definitely one of the most complete wide receivers in this draft, and I think he would be a great fit for the offense and also a great building block for whatever quarterback they end up going after in next year's draft. I'm assuming, again, this is all assumptions here. I'm assuming they're not targeting a QB in this draft, or maybe if they can land a steal in the second round, if someone falls that far. However, Garrett Wilson to the Falcons, book the ticket. I'm for it. I think it'd be a great selection for the Falcons to go after. But those are my 3 players I would like to see the Falcons target in this year's draft. My Falcons fans, let me know in the comment section down below what you think the Falcons should do in this year's draft. But that is it for me. I appreciate you all for watching. I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.